What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash, and we have a great episode planned for you all today. Going to be talking about our top 10 interior defensive linemen, as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Steelers fans are in for quite the episode. We're going to be talking about them in excess, if you will. But before we get into all of the great discussions that we have for today, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Wednesday evening?
I'm doing well. I was on an adventure the last 2 days. I was helping a friend move to Chicago. So,
wow.
I was in a Subaru with a U-Haul driving across the Great Plains to get to the great city of Chicago. And it is a great city, even though the Bears are there. Yeah, I love Chicago. I love Lake Michigan. All the nice neighborhoods. It's a good place. It looks like, I mean, you get to Lake Michigan and it's like beach, volleyball and, people playing soccer as far as the eye can see, swimming, speedboats, sailboats. You can't see the other side of the lake. It's like you might as well be in Fiji, the crystal sands. Sparkling blue water.
Chicago to Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
All I know about Chicago comes from the Bean, the sports teams, and then that one video where it's like 28-year-old weekend in Chicago, but then the 28-year-old does an impossible amount of
Margarita
like
Tower.
Sort of millennial, like Margarita Tower or whatnot.
Speaking of millennials in Chicago, do you know the Chicago Grim Reaper video?
Yes.
I know that one. I live in the old city of Chicago. Remember.
My girlfriend really likes Chicago. She went to the world's largest Starbucks there.
Oh. I went to a bird sanctuary because that was my payment for helping my friend move all that way, is we got to go to the bird sanctuary. And I bet him $10 that we'd see a bald eagle there, but we didn't. So my credibility continues to free fall. I thought
You
maybe
did lie about that.
I thought maybe, next to the water, Lake Michigan, it would be a lock to see an eagle. And then I looked on in horror as I didn't see any tall oaks. And it was all kind of scrubby, shorter, like dune type trees. I was like, fuck, an eagle's not going to be chilling
turkeys and
10 feet off the ground. No, it was, I looked at some of the, like, there was like a cell tower looking thing or like some sort of big man-made structure. It's like, please, 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 bald eagle, perched, regal, scanning. No, nothing. Seagulls, starlings, things of that nature. So yeah, that was my weekend, and I didn't have too many crazy travel hijinks. I did take the wrong bus on the way home from the airport on the way home, and that dropped me off somewhere I didn't want to be. But then I just Ubered back, so that's not that crazy.
Typical Theo travel antics.
Yeah. No car trouble on the way there or anything like that, though. So it went pretty smoothly.
That's good. Matt,
Yes.
how you doing?
I'm okay. Well, first off, I'd like to say we recorded last Sunday. So actually, you already know my whole weekend, unless you've already forgotten, in which case, why would I even say anything in the first place? Second off, what have I done Monday and Tuesday? Not a thing, man. I mean, I've been paying attention to NBA free agency. I guess that's what I've been doing. But the hardest part about this podcast is the pressure it puts on you to constantly have some sort of adventure. Theo, this is easy for you. You're always like working some sort of berry farm job, or, you've gone on some adventure, or some adventure has happened to you. Constantly, you are put through the hero's journey. In Covington, Kentucky, it does not work like that. It's mostly just regular days. It's mostly regular days.
Going, man?
How's the Potter? Actually, funny enough, I forgot to sign up. I thought all the sessions were evenly spaced, and this one was like one session, then back to another. Not the end of the world, but I've been getting better. I said I've been getting better. That's the truth. But I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. But that's okay. I can kind of use the off season to just kick my feet up and chill and watch more basketball. I've been getting excited about the Hornets, so that's fun. Well, they got a lot more moves to make, so I'm not even going to say anything about their offseason yet. But so far, so good.
So we like to see.
How about you, Blaiden?
I went to the library on Monday. It was very good, very peak. They had a little fish tank in there. I was like, go and watch the fishes.
I feel like that's not a typical library move.
It's not. It's
TLM.
Bro's abbreviating typical library move to TLM. But that was cool. One of my neighbor's cars got hit over the weekend and by like a U-Haul, and so Sophia and I had to like run it down because they just like kept on driving. And
yeah, first off, obviously, because U-Hauls, no fucking way in a million years could I ever. No way in a million years could I ever drive a U-Haul. Second off, Theo, did you drive the U-Haul to Chicago, or did you?
I was a passenger princess on the way to
Yeah,
Chicago.
dude, I've literally, like, I'm sorry. The smaller ones I could do, the ones that are like 20 feet, it's like I have zero experience driving that. I'm cool. I have zero with all of my stuff in the U-Haul. Yeah, dude, I'm not a big pressure player. I'm not going to be able to pull
Luckily,
that
the
off.
drive from Denver to Chicago is completely straight and flat, and we just
I guess
chilled
that's
on
true.
cruise control.
How long of a drive is that?
It's 14 hours, so we stayed a night in Des Moines.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Dang.
I'm a good friend, y'all. Put it in the paper.
good friend Ash NFL. That's crazy.
All right. If anyone wants to be my friend, just
Hit him up,
Theo
man.
putting
hit me
putting
up.
out tabloids.
Does anybody want to be my friend? See, honestly, if you're in Denver, that is an open offer, but you gotta really, I don't even know what you gotta do. But see, my girlfriend meets everybody because I just stay home and watch football all day. So like all my friends here are through her, and I feel like she'd be proud of me if I made a friend by myself. So this is my plea. My plea. If you want to be my friend, just if you really want to be my friend, you'll find me and you'll make it.
That's kind of fun. That's kind of like a little like side quest type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can run into Theo Ash at any time. It's big news for people in the Denver area.
It is big news. I mean, Matt, I feel like you and I get recognized a decent amount in Columbus, and
I got recognized the other day as I was walking.
Theo,
back
I
from my
can't
place.
imagine that you're not getting recognized in like Denver.
Well,
or you were in Arizona.
Theo
See-
goes out in like sort of like a fedora and sunglasses and like a big like coat and whatever, and he keeps his head low.
Actually,
He's
I don't
got
want
the
any.
Superman disguise on.
Look, no offense to any of the Stay Hot fans, but if you like know someone who doesn't know me who wants to be my friend and like want to play like matchmaker, we'll do that because I don't want a John Lennon situation. You know, the fans they might be too crazy. You know, they just might.
All the fans that I meet are very nice. I have yet.
Same here. But the ones who are like coming to find me, you know, you send.
Maybe that's fair. I did see someone like comment on the Stay Hot TikTok once with a picture that they took with Matt and I on Halloween. Who were like walking home from the bar.
Oh, you weren't. They did not take this picture with you. See, that. Maybe I don't want any friends who listen to this podcast.
I don't know. I thought it was a great picture. I love that picture, but
A candid friendship moment. That is kind of cool that you did that. But anyway,
anywho, we should probably get into the Steelers conversation. The Pittsburgh Steelers traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, which is by all accounts a very bizarre trade for both.
It's a freaky one. Yeah. The fact that you saw Ramsey went to the Steelers, you're like, right, it's going to be like 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, something like that.
Yeah.
Turns out it's Minkah and then Jonnu Smith and a pick is involved that it ended up devolving into
I think of it as
two separate trades if you want to. We can look at it in two separate trades. I think it was like reported at one point as two separate trades. I mean, if that's how we want to look at it, fine.
Sure.
It doesn't really make any difference though, right?
No.
Jonnu was going to be a late round pick type of guy where he's a good player, but he's got 1 year left on his deal. So
Yeah.
How much is Jonnu getting paid? I have a point to make about this if it's not that much.
It's not that. I think it's
okay.
It's $12 million. It's a 1 year, $12 million extension.
Right, that's pretty
and
decent,
the pick for Jonnu, we can pretend it's the 5th round pick. And then the Steelers are also getting a 7th. So
what is Jonnu's cap hit for Pittsburgh? Is that 12 million?
probably if it's a 1 year deal.
I mean, you can keep talking.
It doesn't really matter what it is because it fits in the cap this year and it doesn't carry over to next year because it's a 1 year. Or I guess if it's an extension, I don't know. You look it up.
Anyway, point being, notice how the Steelers were able to trade for like a good player with the day 3 pick who's on a short deal. It makes you question teams that trade for like washed up 1st round picks who have 1 year left on their deal who like aren't any good at all. That's beside the point though and not really connected to the trade.
No, I like it because I think Jonnu has to be talked about a little bit. I mean, I just made one where I didn't talk about him, so I guess you don't have to talk about him. I just was talking about Ramsey for a second. But Jonnu is an important part of this deal, and to me, a weapon that is kind of needed, kind of not. It's sort of weird because they have Freiermuth and they have Darnell Washington. So did they need a 3rd tight end? I don't know, but they did need more weapons.
That's how I look at it. I don't know how it shakes up. I will say it's like, dude, where are the Darnell Washington targets going to go? And it's like, well,
he doesn't need any to make an impact is the thing. Like he's such a good blocker and
they're going to put a bunch of tight ends.
Who was it?
This is Arthur Smith we're talking about.
Run the first 14 personnel offense.
They're going to go crazy, bro. I mean,
they do that. I mean,
Jonnu Smith, I like him. I think he brings a lot of juice after the catch, right? He's really, really quick. And he's sort of kind of a tweeny guy anyway. That was my first thought on it. So he could be like a big slot type of dude. And then Freiermuth, and then, when you're maybe they get 2 tight end. And then I don't know if they're going to go Jonnu Smith outside. We'll see.
The thing is, if he's outside, like as a pseudo receiver, so much of what he did last year was catch it in a huge void because Waddle and Tyreek Hill exist, and then go bananas with the ball in his hands. And how is Arthur Smith going to replicate those situations when he's, one of their best weapons? He's not some kind of afterthought. It is like probably pay attention to that guy when he's on the field. And I'm worried about it because they didn't really utilize Freiermuth very well last year. Like I think Freiermuth was a good vertical seam stretcher. Like he's just a very well-rounded tight end that they mostly just treated to, dump offs and screens and things where he couldn't really be as useful as he could be. So before you get that sorted out, you're adding on another tight end. Like, are you going to trade Freiermuth now or whatever? I continue to be very uninspired by this offense. And Arthur Smith just generally, I'm not really excited about his how he utilizes weapons, and it seems like people are always underperforming there. And then on defense, like I just think Minka's better than Jalen Ramsey.
See, this is the conversation that I feel like is getting lost a little bit because Theo, I think you're right. But I've seen everyone say, well, Minka hasn't been an All-Pro since 2022. He was kind of off last year. I'm like, dude, that's the exact same story with Ramsey. Hasn't been an All-Pro since 22. Like, didn't have a great year last year. Like, but I would rather have Minka. And especially with this defense, it's like, I get adding another corner. Like, it's kind of the same thing they did on offense. It's like, sure, you add more corner depth, but now you just have, like, literally a void at one position.
Yeah, it's Juan Thornhill, according to the ESPN depth chart. And it's just not Minka Fitzpatrick. Like, I mean, people are like, oh, Jalen was pretty good in 2023. And it's like, yeah, he tore his meniscus. He had meniscus surgery, I think, in 2023. And in 2024, he had his worst year and he turned 30. Like, he missed 19% of his tackle attempts last year. That's the highest rate of his career by far. And he had, according to PFF, 5 PBUs, which is, as low as he's had. 1 year he had 2, and another year he had 5. But he missed a lot of games in those seasons. He played over 1,000 snaps last year. So he's not having the same kind of production on the ball. He's missing a ton of tackles. He's not nearly as physical as he used to be. And, he's expensive. Like, he's getting older, right? His contract is just getting higher. And Minka, when I turn him on, like, yeah, the picks aren't there. And that's kind of the counter is like, well, if Jalen's stats are going down, like so are Minka's, he has had 1 pick in 2 years. And that's true. But he also just dissuades a lot of deep throws, and he doesn't like look slow at all. I think when he's out there, like he's still kind of a heat-seeking missile coming downhill. He's a really, really good wrap-up form tackler still. He only missed 9% of his tackles last year. He made some crucial plays for the Steelers in the red zone that helped them win games and make the playoffs last year. Like, I just don't understand. Even if you think both have downsides that are about equal, I just still don't understand why you'd make the trade even. And I think Minka's even got less sign of wear and tear.
Yeah. I mean, Minka's definitely younger. The money is very interesting because, like, if you're looking at this through the lens of like, oh, well, we can save money. And then Matt, I sent in the group chat, like well, they won't be here that long anyway. So it doesn't even matter. But like Jonnu Smith's cap hit for Pittsburgh is estimated to be just over $4 million. Ramsey's cap hit this year for Pittsburgh is estimated to be about $5.3 million. And then there's like obviously the potential out because it's like $17 million next year, but the dead cap's only 12. But like with Minka, his cap hit this year is expected to be 15. The dead cap would be 13. His cap hit next year would be 17, and his dead cap would be 6. Like there's like you could kind of. There really isn't that much of like a financial benefit here either. It feels at best a total lateral move for the defense.
Yeah, there's talk about moving Ramsey to safety. It's like, well, they need a safety now, and they have good corners, so maybe we'll move him to safety. It's like, why would you do that? Like, what is the benefit to you, to the Steelers? I can see the benefit with the Jonnu Smith move, even though I don't know if it'll end up working out. Like this one, I can't even see the logic. Like what could it possibly be?
I thought immediately it must have been something about like maybe a culture thing with Minka. Maybe he wasn't happy there, or they weren't happy with them. I mean, that type of stuff happens in Pittsburgh often. They're pretty cutthroat over there. I have a hard time believing the answer is just like, well, they're stupid, right? Or well, they're like, especially if like, well, they're going to get Ramsey and then consider like using him to replace Minka straight up. And I agree, Minka is a perfect. I don't think there's any reason to believe that like Ramsey is obviously some on the field upgrade over Minka at safety. Like, right. Like that doesn't really pass the sniff test. So my thought was like, maybe we were going to hear something about how like Minka and Pittsburgh were at odds.
Yeah.
But we didn't really hear anything about that. I also like that Minka's a little bit younger than Ramsey. Secondary players age pretty poorly. Frankly, corners a little bit quicker than safeties. So I thought I liked this a little bit more for Miami. And I think Pittsburgh's obsession with these like vet corners is very interesting to me. I guess maybe they're not all vets. Maybe that's the wrong way. But I always feel like vet corners end up there. I like guys really when they really start slowing down, all of a sudden they're in Pittsburgh.
And they've got some good moments out of that. Like Hayden was a good pickup for them, and they did that. But they didn't give up Minka.
They've had a good defense for a long time.
If it was Jalen Ramsey for a pick, I'd get it. I'd really get it. Because it's like, okay, so maybe he's slowed down a bit. But this is all in, right? Like I don't agree with it, but they're not trading Watt. I'd be shocked. They signed Rodgers, who's said he's going to play only one more year, right? Minka's old. Like Heyward is still good, but he's old. Like this is if you want to send out picks to get more good players, like those are the kinds of things that you need to do to actually realistically win a Super Bowl in this 1 year Rodgers window. So it's like, again, I didn't think it would work, but like I would understand the logic if you trade, and it wouldn't have taken a big pick for Ramsey. So why?
I think what you're saying is kind of revealing it here, where it's like if you wanted to get Ramsey without trading Minka, like you could have done it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It wasn't like Ramsey was some guy that Miami wasn't willing to let go until Minka was offered, and then it's like, oh well, shit, we have to accept that deal. We have no choice. That's not what went down. the Steelers wanted to get off of Minka as well. And I have to believe that's in part because of something that's not on the field, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Minka is...
I'm reading these two articles right now. The first is Gary Dulock of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette saying that it is a combination of Fitzpatrick's price tag and his lack of splash plays that made the Steelers move off of him. Which, again, like we just went over the financials. You're saving like maybe $10 million over the next $10 million over the next 2 years. That just doesn't feel. And then he's a free agent after that, which like maybe you're saying, well, I don't want to lose him for nothing, but I just can't possibly fathom that. And then there's another article where Cam Heyward was interviewed on Not Just Football, or It's Not Just Football with Cam Heyward. And he was shocked by it. So like apparently the players weren't even like aware that this was a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard a peep from Minka. And I guess to get this done at all, like I get why the Dolphins want a player because their expectations are still playoffs. I mean, McDaniel's on the hot
You could
seat,
argue the Dolphins probably should be.
You could. I mean, they've got a lot of holes, but they could definitely see a lot of turnover if they miss the playoffs again. They're not in like a rebuilding situation, and that makes sense. So getting another player for Ramsey in the secondary, like I think was kind of essential for them. So maybe the Steelers just really wanted Ramsey and it could only get done if they traded Minka. And then they're like, well, he's only had one pick, but like, if this is just a positional value thing, like then I really don't understand because like, yeah, Minka doesn't have a lot of production on the ball because he doesn't get targeted very much.
Because he's good.
Ramsey's maybe more frequently involved in the play, but like I said, he missed 20% of his tackles. So him being more frequently involved doesn't necessarily mean like a bunch of good things are going to happen. Yeah. And he didn't have a lot of production on the ball either. He had, again, 2 picks, 5 PBUs last year in 1,000 snaps. Like that's not great for a corner by any means. That's not a lot of havoc.
Yeah.
They blitzed him a lot last year in Miami. He was like a huge part of their pass rush, which maybe that was just a bad scheme fit and he could do better more in a pure coverage role, perhaps. But again, like I just didn't think he's not like unbeatable in coverage or anything anymore. So
he's 31.
He's 31, right? He's old. There's not a lot of great 31-year-old corners.
His contract runs until he's 34. He's an unrestricted free agent at 35 years old. Like, and if you were to ride out that whole contract, you would end up spending like significantly more than you're currently spending on Minka, maybe even more than you would if you extended him. I don't know about that for sure, but like, well, if you extended him, you'd probably get the first few years of that relatively cheaper against the cap. So like, no part of this makes sense from Pittsburgh's perspective as far as trading away Minka.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, 31 is an old corner. When Darrelle Revis was 31, he was in his second stint in New York and a year away from being in Kansas City and 2 years away from being out of the league entirely. Like,
we know. Yeah.
It's
ultimately this doesn't really change how I think about those Steelers, though, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, but that's because we were low on Steelers. we should feel different. But
that's true.
No, I agree. Like I still
who's high on Pittsburgh? Is anybody like?
I think it's just a faction of Steelers fans in comment sections who are like, "Why do you criticize every move they make?" Because they're not making.
I don't even think. I don't know. I feel like most Pittsburgh fans aren't even that like optimistic about the team this year.
No, yeah, I think most. I don't think we're saying anything too controversial, but like there's always. I mean, they're a passionate group. We love the Steelers fans. Well, at least I do.
Blaiden in particular. Do we want to get into the defensive tackles?
Yeah, let's get into them. And we'll start from the bottom and work our way up because we only have one honorable mention, and it's from our boy Theo throwing in Kobie Turner. And the way that we do these is we each put together a list and then use some ranked choice voting board account system to compile a consensus ranking. And so Kobie Turner only got 1 vote from Theo here. You put him at number 8. And that's a guy that I definitely considered putting on my list. He's super productive and he's super quick. But there were some other guys that I felt deserved to be on there over him.
Turner was close for me. I don't hate that pick at all.
Like Turner, Zach Allen was another guy that I definitely thought about. Matabike was a guy who was pretty high on our list last year that I thought about including as well, but just missed it.
Turner's nice. I think he's him or Jared Verse is the best player in that front four. I like watching Turner a little bit more. I just think he's a little bit more of a fun watch. He's very elastic. He's undersized severely, but can still kind of slip through doubles and kind of contort himself to hold up at the point of attack, and just always seems to get where he needs to go. He'll loop around on stunts and kind of like hump the defensive tackle by like, ripping his arm up and they go flying, and he wins inside. He's got a deep bag and just like figures out unique and creative ways to defeat the block in front of him always. So he really makes up for being undersized, and was pretty productive last year. I think he deserves a lot more credit than he gets in the pantheon of defensive tackles. He's one of the guys I feel like PFF always underrates pretty heavily.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They gave him a lower grade than Braden Fisk. Who, like, Braden Fisk also had a very productive year, but like they were both in like the mid to high 60s.
Yeah,
I feel like Kobie Turner is
to say Kobie was a replacement.
That's for pass rush. That's for pass rush. Let me.
Still,
I think he's probably a better pass rusher than a run defender, and that's not what the numbers work out. So yeah, I'm a big Kobie Turner fan, and we met him at the Super Bowl. I played cornhole against Kobie Turner.
Did you guys win that? Defensive grade is a 75.1. Did we win that? I don't know.
I don't think we played like a full game against him, but we were tossing the bags around just kind of casually. I did get smoked by the cornhole pros in a real game.
What are you gonna do?
I did not score a single point.
Those guys
they're closer to LeBron than I am to them.
They are the LeBron James of cornhole. They
were like bouncing. I would like get a bag on the board, and then they'd like knock my bag off and bounce their bag into the hole off mine. I was like, come on, man. And then I'm like, then I miss all my other throws because I'm feeling the pressure. Bad.
Yeah. Well, Kobie Turner actually had a slightly higher grade on PFF than the guy who is at our number 10 spot, which is Vita Vea. So Matt and I left off Kobie Turner. Theo, you left off Vita Vea. That's kind of how that worked out here. And he ends up being our number 10 spot. I honestly, I thought you would include Vea. That was a guy that I was like, I've always considered to be your guy. Do you think he's kind of taken a step back?
I don't think so. The defensive tackles are just so stacked, like they're just, I think
the top like 13, 14, 15 is pretty strong. I think maybe even a little bit more than that. Yeah. I think the bottom here, not even the bottom. I think there's a handful of dudes that are definitely top 10. And then there's a lot of room to,
that's fair,
to work. Vea is awesome because he's one of those guys who's like, 350 pounds or whatever. And he's so strong, it's like beyond an anchor where he doesn't really have to like go out of his way to plant himself and try to like establish his position and then hold up and then go make a play. Like, you just can't move him. It's a completely different game, right? And there's a number of guys in the league where it's like if they get big enough, they're like that. But what makes Vea different is that he's also pretty quick. Usually there's a trade-off where it's like they're really hard to move, but then it's really hard for them to move. Vea doesn't have that as much. And on some level, like, yeah, that makes him more of a threat to pass rush or at least like crush the pocket somewhat. But I think where that really shines through is actually in the run defense. That just gives him more range as a run defender when like, okay, yeah, he can stack and you can't move him. But if you can't get around and make a play, like, how much does it matter? Vea has it within him to have a little bit of range and make some plays. So I really like that about him. I also think he might have the biggest arms in the NFL. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. His arms are huge, not long, big arms. So he's such a cool player. I think he notched like like more than 5 sacks. Like he's not a non-factor in the pass rush at all. I do know that like his overall snap count is probably the lowest of anybody on this list, which is to be expected when you're as big as he is. But to me, he was still top 10. I think 10 is a perfectly fair placement for him.
I agree.
Yeah, there's only so much pass rush that he gives you. But at the same time, he helps with the looping game and stunts just because like he's such a bowling ball. So maybe I should have put him higher. He's kind of a tank.
He had 7 sacks, Matt. So
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, him and Jalen Carter, who we'll talk about. Jalen Carter, and Quinnen Williams all had 7 sacks, and all guys that we'll talk about later on this list. So shout out Vita Vea. Up next at number 9, we have everyone at this point was on all of our lists at some point or another, was Jeffery Simmons. We're expecting a bit of a bounce back year from him, I would say.
Sort of. I mean, maybe if he bounces back and plays a lot better than he did last year, though, he should be like a first team all pro type of guy. Like he was pretty damn good last year. I mean, he made so many impact plays in the run game. He had, double digits tackles for loss last year. His average depth of tackle was like 0 yards. So just beating guys at the line of scrimmage, like completely killing a series or a drive. Like he did it with like, I think he needed like, he had an elbow injury that like pitchers get when they need like Tommy John. Like he was playing through that, and he was still completely ridiculous last year.
Yeah,
he's a beast.
Yeah, I know he was just outside of the top 10 in pass rush win rate, and he didn't have the total sack numbers, but he's still winning at a very, very high clip.
Yeah, Simmons said, this is from the Tennessean. It says, Simmons said his injury is to the Tommy John ligament, a prognosis usually associated with baseball players who wear down the ligaments in their elbows from repeated throwing motions. That's not how Simmons' ligament was damaged. He says he hurt his elbow via friendly fire when a teammate collided with his elbow at the wrong angle.
Oh, that would hurt.
That would definitely hurt. And
because I'm already imagining he's got the extension right here, and then, yeah.
And he was still like a pretty ridiculous defensive tackle last year, like especially in the run game. And with Harold Landry and Sweat and Arden Key, that defensive line doesn't really have a lot of other people that you really need to key in on pass rushing. So he's always constantly fighting through double teams and things like that.
Oh yeah. How does he look on that chart?
I don't know where he looks on that chart, but I do remember doing an all-pro team at the end of the year and crunching a bunch of defensive tackles numbers and just be like, I was blown away by his run defense numbers, like just how many tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage he was getting. I think that was an underrated part of his game last year. He's never been a dominant.
He's got a very good
sack number guy. Yeah, like he had 8.5 in 2021, and we were like, oh man, he's about to get like a 13, 14 sack season, right? And that never quite materialized, but he's still stuffing the stat sheet in other ways. I mean, he had 76 combined tackles last year, and his next best career number is 54. Like that's a lot.
That's pretty
well.
34 stops last year according to PFF.
Aaron Donald's career high was 84, and then his next best was 69 combined tackles.
Do we want to talk about our number 8 pick if we want to discuss single season tackle marks? Because we've got Derrick Brown, who missed most of last season. I think he played just one game, but he had 103 tackles the year before. I feel like I have not given Derrick Brown enough love over the last couple of years, but he is still probably the Panthers' best player, I would say.
Oh,
and he is
no doubt.
He is Jimmy Horn Jr. is going to be pretty special this year for now. he is like an ultimate grinder. 103 tackles. Obviously, it's like, how much does that really mean? It's such a bizarre number. And don't get me wrong, like, part of it absolutely is the Panthers defense sucks, but he routinely is in plays that he has no business being in, whether it be like him getting across the line to go make a play like in zone where he can move multiple gaps over, or whether it be like 15 yards down the field, Derrick Brown out of nowhere is there to make a tackle. To me, that's super impressive because he plays more snaps than anybody on this list. He's on the field for 89% of the Panthers' snaps, and if they could get that to 100, I'm sure that they would, right? He also, you see that show up in terms of like him continuing to drive his legs when he's pushing the pocket. I feel like he can really wear guys down. And I mean, like, it even extends to some of his tackles that he had where he's like just like going completely airborne from a standstill at the line of scrimmage to go and make a play. He is a really fantastic run defender. And I think if the Panthers didn't need him on the field all the time, like his sack numbers would probably be a little bit better as well. I'm a really big fan of him. The Panthers defense getting him back is going to be hopefully stop them from being the worst rush defense in the NFL.
It will, like single-handedly, it will. I mean, they will because not only are they adding him, but Tershawn Wharton as well, and Bobby Brown, and they drafted guys to play edge in the second round and stuff. So, but Brown himself, with all the same mitters that they had last year, would have made them at least 31st. I mean, he covers so much ground. He'll cover the point of attack and the cutback. The running back will go the opposite direction, and he'll just change directions in one step, throw whatever guard is guarding him, like just past him, and then go eat the running back. It's ridiculous, the size, strength, and agility he has to move side to side. Not the world's greatest pass rusher, kind of like Vea, but he's got some power. Like he's got some board.
Yeah, and I totally agree. He's one of those guys who can really throw dudes and use like their momentum or his leverage to like get guys on the ground. Again, there's different ways to be strong. We talked about this some in the offensive line episode. Some guys are like they have strong anchors. Some guys have strong grip and hands. He's the type of guy who's throwing people on the ground, or like on outside zone, he can take the direction that they're already heading and push them along that way and get in the backfield and make a play.
It's almost like a start-stop thing where it's like, oh, the running back has just cut back, and then he comes to like a dead stop with 1 foot, and the offensive lineman just can't quite match that change of direction, so they just go flying. Plus the throw that he adds onto it, like he gets pancakes as a defensive tackle that way all the time. Hopefully he comes back the same. What was his injury exactly again?
Honestly, is it an ACL? I thought it was an ankle,
knee. I don't remember exactly.
I just remember him going down week 1 and being like, it's over.
Meniscus, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing that JJ McCarthy had.
Yeah. Okay. But I will say, like, the tackle totals, definitely not phony in the same way that it is for linebackers. Like, getting a lot of tackles as a defensive tackle, even if you're like, well, the defense is bad, and so, like, of course he's going to be the one to get a lot of tackles, is different because he's like at the line of scrimmage. Like he starts there, right? As opposed to like a linebacker, if like the defense is bad and he gets a lot of tackles, it's probably because they're like opening up massive lanes.
Yeah.
He's like making a tackle, but it's like 6 yards down the field. Right. It's very much a different situation. And then if a defensive tackle is making tackles down the field, then he's just goated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so him having 103 tackles, I didn't even know that was a real stat. That's totally bogus.
Yeah, I mean, it's him who gets that many tackles, and then the other guy who does it is like Christian Wilkins, who is a tiny defensive tackle, right? He's small, he's quick.
Yeah.
Derrick Brown does all those things, and he's giant. It's crazy.
How many tackles does Christian Wilkins get?
He had 98 in one season, I know.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. Damn. But yeah, Derrick Brown. They're at number 8. And at number 7, we'll have one of the Williams. We've got Leonard Williams. Actually, it's a tie for number 7 and number 6. And I guess it's just alphabetical for for who got the edge here. But Leonard Williams is number 7, and DeForest Buckner is number 6, based on the way things shaped up here.
Two kind of similar players there, I think. Like,
yeah, I think it's fair for them.
Tall and like really, really long arms, and just like a leverage nightmare for everybody who goes up against them.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Both of those guys are pretty crazy athletes. I kind of wish I had ranked Buckner a little bit higher, so I'm glad that he is winning this tiebreaker. Buckner is like, his best wins are better than anybody else's best wins, if you know what I mean. He is an unbelievable athlete. 6'7", like 300 pounds or whatever. But he's got these super long arms and this crazy first step. So, like, his pass rush moves are just like so clean and clear and quick. And on top of that, I mean, he's got great range and great ability to go and like finish plays.
Totally.
Like he's got huge hands. Because I just glanced at everybody's like combine numbers to see like what level, like to see their arm length, to be completely honest with you. And he's got these long, but I think he might have like the biggest hands in the entire NFL. They had him at 11 3/4 inches, which is nuts. And you can see that show up in his game. I think he's got great power for somebody who is kind of like a little bit leaner, you know, for a defensive tackle. So I'm a really big fan of him. And he's a little bit lower on this list, but I think any given year he's liable to have like an incredibly great season. And, you know, when I watch him, I am just shocked that that's one of the guys the 49ers decided to let walk.
I was thinking the exact same
It's like, wow, really? Because he's been very good since he's left for a long time. Like, they easily could have gotten through another contract with him. I guess that's me sitting here saying, like, not looking at the financials or having to make any tough decisions. But, like, dude, I think that good play, I probably would have kept him and also everybody else. And not
things would be very different for them if they signed him and did not trade him and draft Javon Kinlaw.
But you know what? They spent a lot of capital on like tackles.
Was that the replacement for Buckner?
Yeah, they traded him and they took Kinlaw, who's we'll talk about Kinlaw when we get to Quinnen Williams. I cannot believe the Commanders signed Kinlaw for as much as they did this offseason. But whatever. Yeah. Buckner, he's absolutely one of the best. I mean, he's super underrated, under talked about, just good at everything. He can 2-gap, he can stack and shed, be in both gaps. You can play too high and trust him to handle the load. He loops on stunts and has like real bend to like turn the corner, and then he'll like just reach his arms out, and his wingspan is so crazy. He's just like can clothesline you in any direction. He's like one of those tractors with the long.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who can like cross people's faces, and this is good for stunting. But he like when he crosses somebody's face, like he can do it and then some. He gets way outside of guys' frames, and then again, like with all the other like physical tools that he has, he's a really incredible player.
Him and Grover in the middle is one of the best defensive tackle duos ever. Like,
what do you think DeForest Buckner? What do you think his relative athletic score was?
I actually know his relative athletic score, because when I looked at the NFL Combine thing, they had him at like a 69 out of 100, and I was like, I don't think that's quite
his RAS right. was a 2.82.
Whoa, that's crazy. He's a
light guy. That's nuts, because I get it if like if you told me Vita Vea was a 2.5, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of the flaw in the math there. But Buckner being like that. Buckner wasn't, I mean, it's just not true. Buckner's one of the best athletes at his position. Undoubtedly, no?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I 100% believe that's true. They should probably take, I mean, he has elite size, obviously, but then, yeah, he ran
okay, now I'm seeing
5.05.
3.95, still very, very low for what you would expect, but like,
oh, that's because that's because on this card he's a defensive end. That's why. As a defensive tackle, it's way.
Oh, so they're treating him like an edge rusher.
He's an 8.22 defensive tackle.
Hell yeah!
Come on, guys.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make a lot of sense. Oh my god.
But that just
that's
goes to show,
crazy.
you know, like I can't imagine, like I didn't scout him coming out. But man,
No,
like,
it-
this
it
guy
was
playing defensive end
2016.
in college, there are probably some mean edge sets there. And then Leonard Williams, kind of the same deal. Like defensive end, defensive tackle versatility coming out of college, like really long arms. Older but still crazy athletic. I mean, he had a pick six last year. He dropped
Yes.
into the blitz, the blitz window to get the slant that Rodgers threw, and then took it all the way back. Just pretty tough to deal with, like yanking guys around and whatnot. I do think Buckner's a little better though. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely close, but I ranked Buckner higher. I know Leonard Williams had some absolutely crazy plays last year.
Leonard Williams made so many splash plays last
He
year.
made
Like
so many insane.
from a matchup perspective, like maybe Buckner has a little bit more juice, but like he had the pick sixes, like he just completely dominated
just-
versus Arizona, like tons of sacks, like just plays that
There's
really
some
swung
and
games.
even a lot of those sacks, it'll be like, it won't just be a highlight in the sense that he got the sack. It'll be like he will have an offensive lineman like turned sideways, thrown on his stomach, and then he gets the sack. And so like if someone ranked Leonard Williams higher, I would get it, because there's a lot of plays where you're just like, oh my goodness, he's like wrecking offenses. But I think Buckner is probably a little bit better. But before we get into the top 5 here, I want to remind everyone to go in and join the Stay Hot group chat. If you hate or love our top 10 defensive tackle list, you can talk about it with us in the Chat BCC group chat. You just go into your browser and type stayhot.chat. We're talking ball literally every day, and we're talking about stuff other than football too. There's various polls. We've been doing some trivia in there now. They recently added that feature, and that's been a lot of fun. So make sure you guys join what some are calling the greatest group chat of all time. There's close to 700 of us in there, and we're just having a grand old time. So you could have heard about my library trip, you know, a couple days before it even aired on the podcast. So make sure you go put stayhot.chat in your browser, download the Chat BCC app, make an account, you use your phone number. It's super easy, and come hang out with us, talk ball, talk not ball. It'll be a ton of fun. And we're still giving away those gnomes. So if you want the limited edition Carolina Panthers garden gnomes, make sure you're in that chat, because that's the only way you can get them. We bought out the NFL shop.
They were making me mad the other day though, because they were talking. Someone said that Jordan Love is like just above Anthony Richardson in terms of like how much you can trust him making.
I saw that conversation. That's very
Like,
funny.
okay, like I get he's had some bad picks, but he did go like 2 months without one, and Goff and Darnold both had more last year. So what are they?
That the Goff one might be skewed by like the 5 interception game.
Skewed by the 5 interception game. If Love had a 5 interception game,
And if
That's
Love
true.
had a
We
5
would never-
interception game,
We would never hear
If.
of it.
they still won that game. So that's probably why, it maybe deservedly gets swept under the rug if you
Yeah.
find a way to win. But
I'm just saying, Herbert had a 4 interception game, and they never let him forget it. But Goff has a 5.
well, that's because they
game.
lost. He didn't. If they won that game, if he threw it, they'd be a lot
That's
quieter
true.
about it.
It
So
would.
maybe it is skewed by. But come on, man! Like he had 12 interceptions the year before too. Like he said, Love has had 11 interceptions 2 straight years. Goff has had 12, and Goff is like the pinnacle of decision making. Love is like wild card. Pretty much Jameis Winston.
Pretty much Jameis Winston.
That's how they treat him.
so-
They make it sound like Love has been in the league 2 years, has gone like 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions both times, and never won a playoff game. And in reality, it's like Love really avoided negative plays last year for the most part.
I'm still holding on to next year being like his breakout.
We're ready.
Let's hear it.
We're ready.
Let's
So make
hear
sure you join the Stay Hot group chat. Stayhot.chat.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. Chat BCC. Shout out those fellas. They're doing a great job there. Getting into the top 5 defensive tackles here. Theo, you broke my heart a little bit because
I got a little bit of beef with one of your rankings.
Our number 5 player I think should be in the top 3. And I think he has an argument to be number 1. I wouldn't put him there, but I think he has a case.
Did I ruin?
That's Cam Heyward.
Heyward, number 1. He's not better than Chris Jones.
I wouldn't put him. I wouldn't put him there. But dude, his production is.
No.
I'm just saying he has a case.
No conversation about.
I thought I fucked up Dexter Lawrence for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, Dexter Lawrence is the guy where I was like, maybe he's 1. That's what I was thinking about, right? Cam Heyward, you cannot say he's in the conversation and then not make the case.
I'll make the case.
We could have the conversation. We're not having it. And you're very pro Cam Heyward. This is all to say that I do think this is too low for Cam Heyward. I will say this. Cam Heyward is very old. So like you could end up like aging correctly into this take off of that alone. But you had him at 9 on your list. I thought that was way too low. Heyward is not necessarily the most flashy guy in the world, particularly like, I don't know if he's the quickest off the ball or whatever, maybe has the quickest first step, but he is one of the strongest, like old I don't want to call it old man strength. He's only 35.
He might have.
But
that's old man strength. You could call it.
In the NFL, it's old man strength, so we'll call it what it is. He is great at like bench pressing guys out of his frame and making a play. And he's got one of the best bull rushes in the entire NFL and on this list. Those two things combined for him to have like a very, very successful pass rush, game, and allows him to make a lot of plays in run defense, man. And he's mobile enough for sure to like go and cross and cover a lot of ground to go get somebody who was way outside of his gap. I just think his ability to like hold the attack point and control what happens is super, super valuable. And while like, I don't know, I guess if we're comparing him to like number 1, he doesn't have them like as fleshed out of a pass rush game as like a Chris Jones or whoever. Like he was first team All-Pro last year, right?
Yeah.
There was a reason for it. It wasn't like he just happened to produce that year. I think he really was a top 3 tackle.
He was the only defensive lineman in the NFL to have 10 sacks and 10 bat downs.
The bat downs he had last year were crazy. I mean,
that comes from controlling that. It comes from guys not being able to get into his frame. Absolutely. It's, one being dominant at one aspect like that can just allow you to create so much. And with Heyward, it absolutely does.
Yeah, that's true. And I think some of it comes to like, well, he's just the quick penetration isn't so much part of his game anymore. So it's like, he is kind of like just going, kind of pushing him straight back like a blocking sled, looking to jam up the passing lanes. I like the Jalen Carter of it more a little bit. And there's some guys who are younger and a bit more dynamic, but yeah, I mean, Heyward, the production. I have him
at 4 for the record. I think 4. He's below. I think he's below. Those 4 guys essentially.
I put him.
I don't disagree. I know when we're talking top 10 players, we're obviously splitting hairs, and when it's like clear that somebody is maybe not that strong at a certain aspect, it's like easy to put them lower. But I think sometimes that can underrate guys who are so good at one thing, who like have a superpower. In some sense, I don't know if you want to call like the way he, can get guys out of his frame a super. Okay, well, I think it can underrate guys who have a superpower but maybe aren't great at another thing, right? Like Jared Verse is probably a dude where it's like maybe he's a little bit more one-dimensional or whatever, but like at a point, he's producing and he's dominant and he can do it against the best competition. You have to respect the production, and it looks good on film too. It's not like it's just completely like phony numbers or whatever. So I think Heyward's a pretty incredible player. I think he's going to end up being a Hall of Famer. And until further notice, he's sick.
I would have to believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
I think he's got a pretty good shot at it. I forget where I ranked him in my tier list thing.
He should. I mean, there's a lot of guys who get in.
4-time first team All-Pro.
Yeah,
gives you pretty good odds.
He'll do it, and he's like, like everyone knows Cam Heyward. Like he has not toiled in any kind of obscurity in Pittsburgh, you know.
Right.
Like he's a generational like media guy. He's got a podcast. He's got four. Not that like should take it into account, but like everybody knows Cam Heyward. Like everybody knows the kinds of defenses he's been associated with and like how he carried on like the Pittsburgh legacy. Like all those things will have helped him get, you know, accolades and recognition during his career in a way that like Jeffery Simmons maybe, you know, has not. And he's just had more sacks. I mean, he's had 10 sacks twice in the last 4 years, which is ridiculous since he turned 32 when that all started. So, yeah, I didn't leave him off my list, Steelers fans or anything like that.
No, you didn't.
But, you know, would he tilt a Super Bowl? Like, would an acquisition of him tilt a Super Bowl the same level, like the same way like Buckner would? Maybe it would. Maybe it would.
It might. It might, dude.
I think so.
And here's the thing. I think I will concur that like part of I think his insane production does come from the fact that like teams are like so many, like we talked about this with the edge rusher episode, so many teams have to like shy away from TJ Watt, and that's like part of why TJ Watt's production has diminished. So I do think that does play a little bit of a role, but also Cam Heyward is just like freakishly good. So
yeah, he had a
35. He's like, what are we talking about?
He had a beastly season. He's a beast.
Yeah, first
because he's a beast.
I respect Cam Heyward.
Buckeye
top
legend.
10 in pass rush win rate as a defensive for defensive tackles, top 10 in sacks, and number 1 in bat downs with 10. So
I did not know he was a Buckeye.
yes, Ohio State legend.
OSU legend. He had a great play against, I think, Miami. Back in like 2010, maybe. I think it was a scoop and score. I don't remember. That's a long time ago. He's been in the league a long time.
Saying 2010 is a long time ago.
It is a long time ago.
It is.
I'll be real with you. 2010 feels like a long time ago. You start to get into like 2017 was 8 years ago. I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
And that's not so terrible. I guess I'm not quite to that point yet. 2017, 8 years ago is not.
I don't know.
Regardless.
I saw 2019 and I was like, oh, that was like kind of recent. It was like 6 years ago though.
Truly, I believe the Packers winning the Super Bowl that year makes me think it happened like yesterday. Like it can't really, like they were one of the recent Super Bowl winners, right? Like it just happened. It's like that year in particular, you know, as they keep not winning them.
Oh, you know what one's been getting me?
What?
Next year, Cavs beating the Warriors is a decade ago.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's a crazy one.
The sports events being so long ago contextualizes it in a way that just the number of the year does not. Like,
mostly LeBron, honestly. It's like he's going into year what with the Lakers? It's like 8, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 7. That's
the Browns
that's crazy.
missed the playoffs this year. They will be 5 years removed from their decimation of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I remember it being like 2018 and like seeing these graphics on Instagram that were like the last 10 Super Bowl winners and like the Packers were on the bubble. And I was like, oh, no.
I see. I felt the opposite where it's like last 10 Super Bowls and I'm seeing the Panthers on the bubble. I'm like, let's go. Let's speed it up, dude. Let's get off this graphic immediately. So
I want to believe that 2010 was yesterday.
It's crazy they haven't won a playoff game since then. You see these teams where it's like you look in the past and they've had these horrible stretches and you're like, oh, what did the fans think during that time? And it's like, I actually know. I know exactly how it feels now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go a decade without being competitive? Easy. The time passes anyway and the team stays bad. So
You and I know best, don't we, Matt?
yeah.
Unfortunately. But getting into the rest of our list here, at number 4, we have Quinnen Williams. Now you can talk about Kinlaw. Yeah.
I thought that he had a bit of a disappointing year last year. Like, man, you just didn't really hear much about him, right?
Mhm.
And then I watched the Jets because I was working on a Sauce Gardner project, and I was like, oh my God, the other pass rushers, it's worse than the other Cavs skit. Speaking of LeBron, there were multiple plays that I saw where every single player except for Q would get pancaked on a pass rush. Like, go watch the Bills game. Like, there are plays where everyone gets knocked down except for him. Like, and obviously he's like just executing like part of a rushed plan, right? It's not like he's just purely a one-on-one type guy. Like, you got to win all the time. Like, he's kind of trying to rip through a certain gap to move Josh Allen up. It works, right? Josh Allen has to step up. Everyone else is on the ground. It doesn't matter. It's like Williams is literally like looking around with his arms in the air, like, where are my guys? Like, Will McDonald is getting tossed. Kinlaw is getting snatch trapped. Michael Clemens, number 72. Don't even get me started on him. It was just a complete disaster that front four once Jermaine Johnson went down. Like, no one could set the edge. No one could hold up versus a double team. Number 94, I think that's Solomon Thomas, just getting blown up every single play. Like, it was carnage.
Solomon Thomas. And
it was carnage. It was carnage. And poor, and I'm looking at Q. I'm like, this is the best like loop penetrator in the league. Like, he would do his part. He'd take up like two guys, and like the rest still wouldn't win. Like, what are he doing? Like, so Quinnen Williams is still extremely good.
I completely agree, and I totally think it comes down to like, his lateral quickness and combination of strength. Where if you don't get him square on, and it's really hard to, like, he's going to be able to run through your arm, no question. And then you've got to get somebody else involved in the help. And I agree about the Jets' defensive line not really supporting him enough for him to be as dominant as you would hope. But I think I had him at 5, so I think this is a pretty reasonable placement.
Mm-hmm. We all had him at 5.
Yeah, and he's pretty big. He's kind of got the Chris Jones thing, I feel like, where he plays very upright. So it's like he looks very tall and heavy, but it doesn't really affect him at all. Like, it doesn't really. He looks very natural doing it, and his motor never really stops. He can always kind of spin around somebody or find some way to eventually slip through. He plays a little more limited number of snaps than maybe some of the other guys, and that helps play into it. But he's still a superstar. Like, if he were to ever change teams, it would be like a league franchise altering move, right? It's just in New York. His talent got completely wasted with the other four. There's just, you're using him as part of a rush plan, and he did his part. No one else was where they were supposed to be. They were all in the sidelines getting buried. Spencer Brown was like doing bench presses with Michael Clemens, like on the
Insane.
just getting a workout in, like bicep curls with Will McDonald and Clemens. that's what Q would look around and see. They were doing workouts.
Javon Kinlaw got a 3-year, $45 million.
Oh man, I'm worried about the Commanders, dude. Like that, seeing Kinlaw and remembering that just was like, man, they might be on a one-way ticket to regression city if that's the kinds of offseason moves they're making. I did like the line. The line might prevent, like, Jaden's cool, and the line with Connerly and Tunsil might be able to keep the offensive pace up. But like,
what's
the defense?
What's kind of BS that I'm thinking? You remember when the Lions made the NFC Championship game, and I guess this ended up being like totally true.
Yeah,
but like, remember when the Lions made the NFC Championship game, and everyone's like, they lost that, and they were a young team, and everyone was like, it's hard to get back. Sorry, it's hard to get back. Like, when you're in there, you have to win it.
Yeah.
And like the next year, the Lions, and it's like they improved. People are like, sorry, hard to get back. They're not going to be back. And like, shit, like they didn't get like they got crushed by injury. They were better, but they ended up getting smoked or whatever in the divisional round. So they were a game off of being back. I feel like I have not heard that as much with Washington. Maybe, and I'm sure Washington fans who feel differently or whatever, but it's going to be hard for Washington to get back, dude. I feel like the bar has been set very high for them. Like, it's really high. Like, what would not be a disappointment for Washington?
You gotta get back to the playoffs at least. I think it's fine if you don't go all the way back to the NFC Championship game, but they got to be back in the playoffs at least.
True.
And I do think the offense is gonna keep going to some extent. Like I thought maybe they'd fall off in the second half of the year with Cliff, and maybe they did a little bit, but eventually they got it back going. Like
no, I don't doubt the offense.
The offense is fine, but like Marshawn Lattimore is like physically not the same. He's a little washed. That's bad.
Shout out though.
Like the pass rush, I don't know if they've got completely fixed, and the run defense and the linebackers are still kind of the same. So.
Got Bobby Wagner.
How old is Bobby Wagner at this point, man? He's got to be like 34 now. Because he's been in the league just as long as
35. June 27th.
35.
He turned he turned 35 like 5
Shout out
days
to him.
ago. Yeah.
Fair enough. Do we want to just go through our top 3 here, since it's all basically like the big 3 guys, I think?
So yeah, the top 3 is Jalen Carter at 3, Dex Lawrence at 2, and Chris Jones at 1. I feel like that's a pretty fair consensus top 3. Is it fair to say that Carter is the freakiest athlete at defensive tackle in the NFL?
I do believe that is fair.
I would say yes, but I guess it depends on how much you value the size that Lawrence brings. But yeah, I've had him down as like, he's a crazy athlete. Nobody can hang with him in terms of like just the instant pop that he can bring, the quickness, like the strength combo. It's all too much. So yeah, he is the toolsiest guy. And it feels like we're waiting around until he becomes like, he starts his reign as the best defensive tackle in the NFL. Maybe Jones staves him off for a long time. Maybe Carter like never goes crazy like that, or somebody else comes along. Who knows? But that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Jones is 30. He's not like a baby. His birthday is the day this comes out. He'll be turning 31 on July 3rd. And then the day after that, Matt turns, 15 this year?
15.
15. Let's go.
Nice.
But
yeah, Carter, I mean, I'll never forget him as a prospect, right? Like him and Hamilton, I think, are the 2 guys that just kind of stand out as being different in my mind. And yeah, the reason with Carter was just, like you said, Matt, the pop off the line of scrimmage. It's just unfuckwithable. Like just instantly in the gap, like instantly the guard has to turn their hips, and instantly Carter's by him. And his bag is super deep. Like he can spin and twirl and never get washed out of the play. It seems like, even if he's kind of reducing his, surface area, or, bringing his pads up a little high, like he just teleports by guys, no matter what he's doing. Yeah, he's like an actual like grizzly bear playing 3 tech. It's crazy. He's an animal.
People always bring up the play where Jalen Carter almost intercepts a spike.
Yes.
But he wouldn't have been the first one to do it.
Oh?
I'm pretty sure Vita Vea did it like 5 years ago.
That does kind of ring a bell.
I've seen this play before. I can't. It's because no one talks about it, but like, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Vita Vea intercepted a spike a while back, but it was someone definitely did, but he's definitely not, he wouldn't have been the first person to do it. But I always see that clip and I remember, I'm like, someone else has done this before, but I can never remember who. And I always go into the comment section to see if anyone else remembers it, but no one ever does. And it breaks my heart. So
yeah, I can't say that I remember it very well.
I'm just left in this perpetual, I know someone else has done it before and I just can't remember who.
Yeah. But, man, Carter had such a good playoff run. They've got the mural of kind of all their big moments in the Super Bowl hanging in their practice facility now. I saw some picture of it during an off-season workout. And one of the play is pictured is like the one where Mahomes got like decapitated by Carter at the end of the game and strip sacked. And I just remember watching that play on tape, and just he like bull rushes Trey Smith like 3 separate times. Like he pops him, and then Trey Smith kind of resets his hands, and then Carter kind of resets, and he just pops him again. And then like the same thing happens a third time. Like he just never runs out of gas, even though the strongest guard in the league like kept, repositioning himself and doing a pretty good job. It just didn't matter. Like each and every time, Carter is just like knocking him back. He's like just a lava flow. You just can never really stop his forward progress and his leg drive, and then ends it with just this like huge leaping hit. Didn't care about getting a flag. The violence of it.
It was Grady Jarrett. I just found it. Grady Jarrett intercepted a spike against the New York Jets.
It would make sense that Grady Jarrett did something that's underrated, forgotten about.
Yes, and I thought it was Vita Vea because we were talking about him, but it was Grady Jarrett.
Different red AFC
Grady
South
Jarrett,
team.
one of the most underrated defensive tackles of our lifetime, probably.
Yeah, I feel like people have just considered him washed for like 4 years now, and he kind of isn't. He's like probably not as good as he was in his prime, but he's like still a decent pickup, I think, for Chicago.
Yeah. And then Dexter Lawrence and Chris Jones are kind of the top 2 guys, and I feel like that's pretty consensus. Although Theo, you had Carter above Lawrence, so shout out there.
I mean, I think it's simple with these 2 dudes. Dexter Lawrence is like, he's big and he provides all this pass rush from, a nose tackle, somewhere where you wouldn't expect it. He's quick enough to be a real issue for centers. And it's not just like he's quick for his size, he's just fast. It just doesn't cost him. And that allows him to produce as a pass rusher in a way that you just don't typically expect from somebody who can anchor the center of a defense the way that he does, right? That's what makes him special. And you could argue that that's more valuable than what anybody else does from the interior. But I do think still that Chris Jones overall is the most complete pass rusher of any defensive tackle in the NFL. I think in terms of just like the moves and the counters that he can go to me, I'm still just going to lean that over what D-Law provides. And I think Carter is like so young and within striking distance that this could all not be true in, 8 games or whatever. That's kind of my thought on how the top shakes out. But to me, that's like this is like the tier 1 of guys. We're starting to break up here in terms of our connection. Blaiden, do you want to just run through the top 10 real quick, and then we can go ahead and call this one?
I think that's a very good plan, Matt. Some Wi-Fi is trying to sabotage. Spectrum is trying to put us out of business here. So at number 10, our honorable mention, first of all, was Kobie Turner. At number 10, we had Vita Vea. Number 9, Jeffery Simmons. Number 8, Derrick Brown. Number 7, Leonard Williams. Number 6, DeForest Buckner. Number 5, Cam Heyward. Number 4, Quinnen Williams. Number 3, Jalen Carter. Number 2, Dexter Lawrence. And number 1, Chris Jones. Stay hot consensus, top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL. Thank you all once again for tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. It's been an absolute blast hanging out with my 2 favorite co-hosts of all time. And as always, until next time, we will catch you on the flippity flop.